Welcome to Epic Trash, the epic gaming show about all things trash.
We're back.
And gaming. We're back. I'm here with my co-host, Tank and Heels. Got Chris Crow. I'm your host, Bruce. Please hit us up at Twitter at Epic Trash Show, at the email epictrash@groupmail.com, and we have Discord now. So check the link in the description for the invite for that. Oh, we have a bunch of admins. No, we have one.
Oh, okay.
And then all of us.
Oh.
So come join. We're ready to chat.
Do we have Discord up right now while we're here? Oh, I guess it wouldn't matter.
I guess.
But we could do it like live. We could tell people that we're recording and what we're talking about.
Yeah, that
Could do that.
we'll leave that up and Twitch chat. We're working on getting Twitch going, so soon we'll be streaming live. Right at you through the power of the internet. Anyways, please sub. We're on the YouTubes. And as always, the timestamps for all the sections will be in the description. So, into the news. First up, we got some controversy.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about it.
All right. Well, there's two controversial stories going on that I really wanted to talk about. Well, one more than the other, but the first one involves Borderlands 3, which was announced early this month, and it was given an official release date, which is September 13th, and everything seemed pretty good for the most part. Everybody was kind of excited, but then there was also the problem of it having a 6-month exclusivity deal on the Epic Game Store, and if you follow PC gaming these days, nobody wants to be involved with the Epic Game Store as customers. Apparently, like it's
Nobody.
Well, every time there's some kind of exclusivity thing, there's always an outrage about it. So
Right.
but like it's not without its reasons because.
Well, yeah, exclusivity is shitty. Nobody.
Well, it's
likes
not.
that.
Well, it's not just the exclusivity thing. It's that not too long ago, the Epic Game Store had an issue with their security, and millions of Fortnite accounts were pretty much invaded.
Yeah.
There was a big issue there where you could log into someone's Fortnite account with no password, use their credit card information, listen in on the chats, and it was just. It was pretty shady. I mean, they fixed it. They fixed it by January, so technically it's not a problem anymore. But it's a matter of reputation, and like it took a long time for the Sony to get their reputation back when the PSN had their problems.
It was hacked for like a week straight.
Yeah, and
The PlayStation Network?
yeah, and the network was
At
like
Christmas
down.
time.
It was a lot. The one like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like
yeah.
a month.
It was down for a long time.
Yeah,
it was
long time.
Because I remember that's all I was.
Because they were trying
Yeah.
to fix like everything that was wrong with it. Like they practically had to revamp their network. So that was a long process. So that was a lot of people are kind of like they're not too happy with the Epic Game Store for that reason. On the other hand, the developers are happy with it because they have a much better deal when it comes to the developer end of it.
Yeah.
So like as you know, like the Epic Game Store only charges like 5%.
Right.
And Steam Store charges like 30%.
Yeah.
So, the developers make more money off of their games through
Right.
the Epic Game Store. Which,
Right. This
So
is
you
why
can
they're
kind of
doing it.
understand why the developers want the exclusivity deals with them.
Yeah.
But it's also coming out on consoles on the same date of September 13th. So, there's that for the console players, which I'll probably get it when it comes out because I played the first two and they were really good.
Right.
And
I mean, I get exclusivity is kind of crap, but like at the same time, like this is two competing launchers, which are both free.
Yeah.
So like, boo frickin' who, you gotta install another piece of software on your computer. I get that it's crappy. Nobody liked Origin when it came out because EA's bad.
Yeah.
And nobody liked, what was the other one? I don't know.
Ubisoft's.
Yeah, Uplay.
Yeah.
Like, nobody liked that because it's like another launcher and everybody was jumping on it. But these people are actually coming out with exclusives and they're making it worthwhile for the developers. And they seem to be the first ones that actually have a shot at going head to head against Steam.
Yeah, and
That said, Steam has like 10 years of development behind it, so they have all these features, and Epic's coming in like.
Well, that's
know?
that's the funny thing about it is that like Steam hasn't had any legitimate competition in a long time. So like they've been kind of monopolizing the PC game launcher system for a long time. So like maybe now this will get Steam to kind of realize that they can't get away with charging 30%.
Right. If nothing else, at least wake up.
Yeah,
you need to actually
change some things, and they just had that controversy with the Rape Day game.
Yeah.
So there was that, and
right.
and also the real controversy though isn't even about the exclusivity stuff. It's about the aftermath of that with Randy Pitchford.
Right.
Because he apparently had this big argument with a bunch of people on Twitter.
Yeah.
And all the PC gamers were like, "Why are you making this an exclusive on Epic Game Store? Like none of us PC players want this exclusive.
Gamers rise up."
Steam and so on. And Randy Pitchford really came back with some pretty snide remarks about it, and he wasn't really thrilled with the backlash.
Well, they were review bombing his game, weren't they?
Yeah, and that was the other part of the controversy. The Steam review bombs that took place after the announcement of the exclusivity deal, and Randy pretty much came out and said we don't really have anything to do with that as the developers, that's on 2K.
Right.
And so he was kind of trying to defend it, but I don't know. It's just a mess, and Randy Pitchford is in all honesty not really the guy to take up the gripe with, because he really isn't in control of where it releases and what deals that they make with what distributors. You know? That's not their job. Their job is to build the game.
Yeah.
And get it done by a certain date. And they've done that. So why go after Randy? What's he gonna do? He's not gonna be able to call up freaking what's his name at Steam and call the head of 2K and be like, hey, let's just drop this deal and lose all this money.
Right.
So it is what it is. The game is coming out though in September, so I'm gonna get it probably regardless. The first two were good. The third one looks good.
Did you guys see the BO3 review, or not the launch that they had?
The trailer?
At I think it was South by Southwest or one of the cons that came out this year. It was a shit show.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Saw that? I think I sent that to you.
That was
I don't
a
know if
mess.
you saw it. Yeah, it was
a mess.
they tried to launch the trailer.
It's like they were trying to play it on a Windows 98 machine or something, man. It was bad.
It was 5 frames per second, and they just kept replaying it over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's on top of that, now they're getting review bombed on Steam because people don't want to deal with the Epic launcher, and he's like, it's funny because there is no review bombing on Epic, and you're kind of proving my point here.
Yeah.
It's why would I go on a platform where people can, this game had awesome reviews, and now it's got reviews in the toilet because of a game that's not even associated with it.
Yeah, I wonder how much it'll actually affect the sales, but I guess if people band together, you know what I mean?
Gamers rise up!
Yeah, if people really band together, but I think a lot of the hardcore fans of Borderlands, are still going to get it.
Right.
I don't think because of how they're talking about the game and the ideas and concepts that they're going to go with.
Right.
And I think they're going to try and go away from what they did in the pre-sequel, which is not, I think most people who are Borderlands fans were not happy about, the real Borderlands 3, the pre-sequel thing or whatever.
Oh, okay.
There was 1 and 2, and then there was
the Handsome Jack collection.
The Handsome Jack thing, and people weren't really that happy about it.
Right, and then there was that Telltale game, the Tales from the Borderlands, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I know Steam to try and fix the review bombs. They had it set up where it's there's the recent reviews and then there's the overall reviews. So if review bombs come in, usually you can see that because the recent reviews are terrible and the overall is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But because I think it's a new game, that doesn't help at all with this. So I don't know. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how.
Well, I think there'll probably be some more things that come out leading up to the release.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's probably going to come out and say something, or the publishers or 2K is going to come out and say something, or you know what I mean? Maybe they'll jump back and then put it on Steam.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I don't see why they wouldn't, because like you said earlier,
it's definitely going to be on Steam. They said it was a 6-month.
Yeah.
I can't say the word exclusivity. I think that's it.
Oh, so then after 6 months it'll go to Steam.
Yeah.
But I don't see the big issue, because like you said earlier, Crow, it's the Epic store or whatever is going to be, it's 5%, and then it's
15.
15?
Yep.
Oh, I thought you said 5.
I think it's 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5.
It's
Somebody
15
fact check.
versus 30. I'll double check right now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? The difference between a 5 or 15% versus 30.
Yeah.
And like you said, growing another service to compete with Steam. I'm sure that they're potentially giving more kickbacks, the Epic Store, to like AAA games that are going to come out. You know what I mean? Because that really it's going to help the Epic Game Store as well as helping Borderlands and 2K and
Yeah, because
you know
they'll probably, even at their lower.
because they have, well, think about it, they have to be giving incentives, the Epic Game Store, for AAA developers to release exclusively on the Epic Store. It's like, why wouldn't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might not. They're probably going to write up a contract, and it might not be like that standard 5 or 15%
Yeah,
cut that they're going to take.
It's 12%.
12.
Oh, 12.
And they're waiving the 5% engine royalty for sales on Epic Game Store.
Oh, okay.
So I think you have to pay for Unreal Engine, another
Yeah.
5% on top.
Yeah.
So it's instead of 30% plus potentially that extra 5%, they're getting
It's gonna be
12%
12.
cut, so they make 88%.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of incentive right there for anybody to go to Epic. And it's like, you know what, if
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like finally some actual competition. I
'Cause, yeah, I
understand
don't
it
think
sucks. You got to download a launcher that's not, because none of your friends from Steam are
but
going to see you
how
there.
much space does the launcher take up anyway?
Yeah, it's not huge.
Yeah.
Plus, I know that you can actually dump. If you really were worried about your friends seeing you play a game online, you could put the launcher in Steam as like a third-party app, and then launch it through there, and then your friends will see you there and can talk to you anyway. So.
I don't see it being like a huge issue in a year or two.
Right.
You know what I mean?
People just don't like change. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is, and it.
Well, that's
is
the
making
thing.
it-
I didn't like to download all the different launchers like when I played Blackout and then Apex and what was the other launcher we were talking about?
There was Origin
for Apex.
Anthem.
Oh, well, I only have the Origin for Apex because that's the EA one.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
because
fair
there
enough.
was a different one for the Blizzard. Remember the
Yep, and there's a Blizzard
Blackout
launch
had
too.
the Blizzard launcher, but
Yeah.
I got it for Blackout, but then I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like I don't need this on my desktop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna play Blackout, so
Right.
maybe now that's gonna be free, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. I'll talk about that a little bit later.
So yeah, so that was a pretty fascinating controversy I read about, and it's not the only one.
Full of controversy.
Unfortunately, and
Drama.
I'm coming at this one as a longtime fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing Mortal Kombat since Mortal Kombat 2,
Mhm.
and I love the games. I've always loved the games. I've bought every major title since like Super Nintendo days,
Mhm.
and so the controversy surrounding it is that they've essentially desexualized their female fighters by covering them up more and making them like less,
Busty.
Voluptuous.
Yeah.
and so like
Have they though? Because you've seen a
No,
lot
they
of
have.
all the reveals.
They have. They totally have. I've
Yeah.
seen all the reveals, and like there is a point to it that could easily be made if you compare the female fighters of today versus the ones from even just MK9, like just 2 titles ago.
Right.
Yeah.
The MK9 character designs, like they were much more busty. They had more curves, and they were quite a bit more exposed. And like
We can't have toxic masculinity running rampant here, guys. Gotta tone it down.
The thing is, like, and the funny thing is that I actually like all the new designs I've seen for the female characters. I really do. Like, they look kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really bug me on a personal level. What bugs me is their rationale behind it. And it's like this. It's like they're trying to appeal to this market that's not really there, because like their whole market was built on controversy.
Right.
Like their entire base was like, they essentially created the ESRB.
Right.
They
They didn't create it.
I don't-
It came about because of the outrage that
Yeah,
spawned.
exactly.
I don't think they have a problem with violence. I don't think they have a problem like arguing with violence.
Yeah.
But I don't think they want to get into.
That's not the hill they want to die on.
Right. Well, I think the gender thing and making everybody happy, because I think that must be the basis of their argument.
But let's
right?
be
But here's the
realistic.
catch.
Yeah.
Here's the catch. Now let me just explain the rest of it, because one of the lead designer, I believe it is, the art director, came out and said, quote, "Our character lead, Brendan George, has been a breath of fresh air of just introducing new ideas. Our design is just getting more mature and respectful. You're not going to wear a bikini to a fight. You're not going to be showing so much skin. I think it's just what the game is about. You're going into a fight for your life, and you're not going to be wearing such scantily clad items. Now, here's the reason why that makes absolutely no sense and is completely absurd.
Okay. Tell me.
The male characters are not changed at all. They're all still like mostly without shirts and like still like mega jacked and huge and just as shapely as they've always been. They haven't changed whatsoever for the males. It's only the female characters who are changed. They've already confirmed that the male characters are getting their classic costumes from like Mortal Kombat 3. Not the women though, because those are too revealing. So they're not going to release the classic costumes for them.
That's weird. Yeah.
And so like they're making like
That's a good counterpoint.
They're making all these like double standard kind of like weird excuses to like
I guess the only
change half of the
I think
characters.
but you know what, in that sense, like you said with the costumes, they should definitely put out the other costumes, but you know what they should do is make it a microtransaction.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Watch them come out with it after the fact and just slip it in
I think
under the radar as
I could be wrong about this, but I think that that they've already confirmed that they're not going to release them, no matter what.
That's what they say.
Well,
They're
they
under
could
no
confirm- they could-
contractual obligation.
I mean,
not to do that.
Dead or Alive, the latest Dead or Alive did that.
Well, they also said they were going to tone it down, and
But
They
but,
did.
Yeah, that's
but
what I
here's
was
the
thinking
thing,
when
like
we first started talking about was Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
Like that's where my mind went.
it's just that like you know I don't know why they're doing this now, and like the other argument that they had was like, oh, we're trying to get it more realistic.
right.
But it's freaking Mortal Kombat. Like
Right, you're ripping
none of it
people's
is
spines
realistic.
out, right.
Like and they even
Yeah.
said like one of the other designers was saying like, oh well, the fatalities are really unrealistic. So
Yeah.
like you have one guy saying like, well, this huge portion of the game that everybody knows about fatalities.
Yeah.
It's a very specific thing in Mortal Kombat. Is not realistic, but then you're changing the characters to make them more realistic, except not the male characters because reasons and so on and so forth. And it's just a big mess.
Do we know what the studio NetherRealms is? That American?
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah, they were under Midway.
That's why, because the American standard is a lot like because what's the other one? We were just said it.
What
The other game that we were just talking about, where your mind went.
Oh, Dead or Alive?
Yeah, Dead or Alive. Like they're a Japanese company,
Yeah.
and the culture is way different over
Yeah.
there than it is here. So it makes sense that this would be because they died on the hill for violence,
Yeah.
and Dead or Alive is on their sex hill over there, and we're
Yeah.
on the violent hill over here. So I think
I think
I don't know if that's a war they wanna fight.
That's I think the battle or the debates that they're trying to avoid. But but by doing that too, they're also starting discussion or
it's
they're making
controversy no matter what.
But
the
here's
conversation
but like
is.
as a fan of the franchise from the get go, like this is typically how things tend to go when franchises that have been around a long time start to do things like this. Is
Yeah.
like the same thing. A very similar thing has happened with Marvel Comics. Like comic
Right.
sales have decreased 6% year over year for the last like 3 years.
Right.
I don't mean to get into comics, but it's
Right.
relevant because it's like it touches on the same
Sure.
themes here.
Yeah.
So like what happens is they start to try to like they change stuff that's been as it is, that's been successful, a successful business model that's been going on for years that everybody loves, that the fan base is really into. They'll change around and say like, oh well, we don't want to get into any controversy. We're going to change this and try to expand our fan group or our customer base. And then all that does is just alienate the longtime customers. They leave, and
Yeah.
the new customers aren't coming because they've never been interested in Mortal Kombat from the get-go.
Right.
And changing a few character models is not going to suddenly have an influx of like new customers. Like
Right.
that's not how it works. So like if they really want to like kill off the franchise, they're doing a great job of it at this point. Like this is where it kind of starts in that process. And I'm not saying that like Mortal Kombat 11 is going to fail, and I'm not saying I'm not going to buy it because like as I said, I personally kind of like the new female character designs.
Right.
I like the new costumes and the way they look.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like stuff like the excuses that they're making just doesn't add up. And I'd
Right.
rather they just be honest with it
Right.
instead of trying to say stuff like this. And the other thing too is that like if you're going to say like, you're going to go into a fight for your life and you're not going to be wearing such scantily clad items. Okay, look at professional female fighters. What are they wearing?
Right.
Stuff head to toe? No, they're not.
Right.
They're wearing like basically a sports bra and briefs
Right.
and gloves.
Yeah.
So they're wearing very little, just like male fighters do. Like
Right,
it
you
just
want to
doesn't
be
make any sense.
unhindered when you're in the fight.
Yeah, you want to be maneuverable. You want to be able to move around. If you want to be realistic in another realm, then that's how you do it. Like, look at the real female fighters.
Right.
Base it off of that.
That's what makes me think of like is the first Sonya Blade like costume or whatever with like was it with the green.
Yeah, she
Like
had a sports
singlet.
bra on, but like she had like,
Like
basically
green
yoga
tights.
pants on,
Yeah.
and like and that was, but at the time like that was a little bit
Yeah. But
scantily
that's
clad.
what a person would wear to a fight, though, is
Yeah.
is something that somebody can't grab onto. Because I think
Yeah.
that's like what they teach a lot in martial arts is like, if people have loose fitting clothes, like use it to your advantage. Like if you can grab
Exactly,
a shirt
yeah.
and twist them around, or like like hockey players would pull it over their head.
And that's
Yeah,
why-
not to get
and-
into like
And that's why that's like kind of the theme that most of the fighters are generally based around. Like there's some exceptions, but like the ninjas and stuff like that, they don't wear a lot of loose fitting stuff, and they look like
ninjas
ninjas.
also kill people and they're not seen.
Yeah, but
We all saw Ninja Assassin.
on a brighter note, and regarding MK11 though, the rest of the game is looking good. They did come out with official roster updates saying that Katana is coming back, so that's great because Katana was a lot of fun in the last game. Aaron Black is coming back as well. He was a favorite from the last game. Kotal Khan is coming back. I've gone over the list like a couple weeks ago, and but like Katana was the newest confirmed addition, so she's for sure coming back.
Nice.
So like the game generally speaking is looking really good. It's just this part that is like really
I
frustrating.
think they
to
should
me.
bring all the costumes back and make them microtransactions.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not?
Well,
at this
they're-
point?
they're-
especially like with all this controversy and stuff. It's like you're definitely going to make money,
The
Right.
thing
You know what I mean?
about it is though is that like
but don't change the base of the character model. Like, if somebody is like I guess like a B cup or something,
Right.
Like, don't make their classic outfit and then make them like a fucking D,
Right.
Yeah.
You know, or something like
Yeah.
I don't know.
well that's the thing about it. too,
Leave
is
that to the modders on PC.
that's the thing about it
well,
too.
that's
is
what's
like,
going to happen. Is people are just going to mod.
It
happens
probably
every time.
wouldn't have been nearly as much of a controversial issue if it weren't for like if they had made it so that like not all the female fighters basically had the same physique overall because they all look like they had the same base character model for their body.
Right.
So like none of them really look super different. But on the other hand, Kano is super jacked while Liu Kang is a little bit leaner.
Yeah.
So like the male fighters do have some variety in their actual physique, whereas like the female fighters, like I mean, and you can
Yeah,
say that you can say that for the past games too, because like a lot of the previous games did that as well, where like they would kind of copy paste the physiques of the fighters and stuff.
Right.
But there's just a lack of individuality with the female fighters.
That's what it made me think. They should have a more like diverse, I guess, body type for females, just like males. Because even with a lot of fighters, there's usually like really big. Like I don't play a lot of Mortal Kombat, so I'm just thinking like Street Fighter is like look at all the different like body types, like Zangief, and then like Blanca, Ryu, Ken,
Yeah.
and then like even like Birdie, and like who was the one Raiden. Raiden was like really big and chubby, but it's like Zangief's like huge and jacked. Then like Ryu and Ken are kind of average, and like Blanca's like a hunched over,
Yeah.
But then E Honda is like kind of bigger guy. They should make like females have the same diverse body types. Aside from, I think mostly we see kind of like the tomboy female, or we see super bust.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, the super bust thing is gone though completely.
Yeah,
So
right.
like, and that's part of the issue is like where because like what did they all get boob reductions? Like what happened? And like you have to wonder.
Right.
And
Maybe they'll address it in some of the story.
maybe I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But the in closing this out though, it would be I had a solid point that I was going to make right at the end here.
Yeah.
And it's just gone.
It's just gone.
Diverse body types.
I wonder if the hitboxes are going to change, like, if that
Yeah,
makes any
probably.
difference in fighting
Yeah,
games.
because there's going to be
Like-
zoning and reach for different players.
There's
and
going to be
stuff.
a
There
lot
should
more zoning and like mid-level or like mid-distance fighting in this one.
Yeah. They changed the combos at all? Or?
Yeah, I think their focus is going like a little bit less combo heavy and a little bit more like interacting with the character's special abilities.
Gotcha.
And using that in conjunction with like the fewer combos.
Mhm.
But there's also like much more variations to the fighting styles. So like you can like even customize your own variation.
Yeah.
So you can give them their own like specific to you. Like you can play it however you really want to at that point.
Gotcha.
So you can put in your own combos, your own specials for this variation of like Noob Saibot, for example.
Right.
And so like, and people are really enjoying that system, which it's a creative way to do it. The one thing I was going to say though was that same thing with when it comes to like a variety in body types is like have a variety in costume design
Right.
as well. And if they had done that, instead of making it so obvious
Right.
from the get-go that like they were clearly changing things around,
I
probably
feel
wouldn't
like
have been any of this
a lot of the
controversy at all.
characters in MK, aside from like or versus other fighting games, a lot of the characters had a lot of similar costumes, like Scorpion. In
Well, the
older
ninjas-
ones, like
the
Scorpion,
ninjas for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then even a lot of the females, I think, had
Well,
earlier.
the females,
I mean.
the female fighters were essentially like female ninjas.
Right,
You
yeah,
know?
and that's
so
what
like,
I mean.
there was like Jade Katana, Melina, and off the top of my head, there was a female Chameleon,
Right.
and they were just palette swaps. Like the ninjas were all palette swaps in the early days.
Yeah,
But they've made made a point over the years to like make them,
yeah.
despite being like previously being palette swaps, they're making them more of a like unique
Individual,
each one of them.
yeah.
Like Noob Saibot in the new one looks freaking nasty.
Yeah.
Like he looks like just a black shadow in the past games, like especially
Oh
the
yeah, I
old
remember
ones.
that. Yeah.
But like in the new one, he looks like the Grim Reaper,
Oh,
and
nice.
he's got like this hood and stuff, and he's got this sickle that's like actually in his back.
Yeah.
And he has to pull it out of his back to use it as a weapon.
Right.
So it's like stuck in his back, and he like
That's
yeah,
nice.
it's brutal.
Nice.
So there's definitely a lot. They've kept a lot of the brutality. So there's that at least.
Hooray!
Yeah, so there's a lot of controversy there with America.
Just
and,
keeps rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
but then
depends.
so the thing I was going to talk about it's kind of controversy, but it's definitely controversial in India, and I don't know if this is part of their country, the UAE. I think it's a separate country.
India. Subscribe to PewDiePie.
Oh.
Subscribe to PewDiePie.
And,
Can't let T-Series win. He's still on top.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, thank
They won for a bit. He's like a $500,000 over.
Congratulations.
Anyways, continuing on with the controversy.
Yeah, basically in India, people are trying to ban PUBG because people have been dying and
For playing too much?
No. So the two big reported stories were there was a 16-year-old boy who committed suicide after his dad reprimanded him because he was supposed to be studying, I guess, for like an exam, but he was just like binging out on PUBG. And then in another area, I don't think it was like the same city, but another area close to that, I guess two guys got hit by a train because they were playing the PUBG mobile, like on a train
Oh my
track
God.
or something. And
Jeez.
then
Oh,
but
come on.
their big basis is people over there are saying that it's addictive. It's a psychological disturbance. It's desensitizing emotions. I mean, the big thing is, and even in China, it's banned. There's a digital ban if you're 13 years or younger, or it might be you have 13 years or older.
China had that problem with World of Warcraft years ago.
Yeah, and so, but it's just kind of like interesting to see. And like I was saying, so there's different groups and organizations that are like pushing for a ban, and there's
But it's just
being led
PUBG.
by I guess right now it's PUBG, and I think potentially it's like the battle. I think they're going after the battle royale genre, but
Yeah.
I think right now they're sticking to PUBG, and so that was kind of just like something that I wanted to bring up. And I think even in India, I think it's kind of a cultural norm issue because. Like parents want their children to be focusing on school and I guess vocational things instead of playing, video games. But I think the big argument, and it's something we talked about before, is kind of like addicting games. And I think like because of the way that the battle royale, what makes the battle royale format successful is because it has like that high replayability value, and it has those like I guess addicting concepts in it to keep players playing game after game.
Right.
And so I kind of just wanted to, bring the story up and then see what you guys thought about banning games. Obviously, the big issue is kind of like freedom, versus.
I definitely think we should ban pretty much all video games. I think they're a scourge on society, and they should just be gone.
Well,
Back
no, but
in
what
my
do you
day, we used to read books.
But I mean, what do you think? What do you think about them banning in India, though?
I think it's BS. I think they're just looking for a scapegoat, like always. They find something that that they don't understand, and that they want to just, it was Marilyn Manson. At first, the scary music, it was Led Zeppelin, it was Elvis before that, and now video games are a thing, and it was the Mortal Kombat, and then the ESRB was made, and
so that ties.
Yeah, it's like it constantly they're always looking to point the finger and scapegoat it, and I think that's just another case of that. Especially like PUBG is like, I understand it's like a game that can be addictive, but of the addicting games out there, that one doesn't really have that many. Like, other than the loot crates, it really doesn't have anything that's proven to be an addicting quality.
I think though the format of the game, I think itself, to me, seems addicting. Because I've logged a lot. I should check. But I think I've logged like 400 hours or something, which is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show that it's scratching some sort of itch.
Yeah.
That and I've come to my recent revelation on the subject matter is basically that if that's the case, it's probably tapping into some sort of primal. It's almost like a natural. That's how we play, because it helps us grow as individuals in one way or another.
Right.
And I understand that Pona Noobs is not necessarily a life skill that you need, but if you have to play, if it's any kind of team game,
it makes you feel better. I mean, definitely. Like I noticed because PUBG was the first battle royale played. I know they had H1Z1, which was like pretty popular before that. But I remember like when I first started to get into PUBG, I was like. It was really hard to stop. And I would always stay up and play like that.
Because it's just one more game, right?
I would always stay and play that one more game, and then that's something that was.
And I'm on a winning streak. I can't stop now. Oh, I just died. I can't leave on a bad note.
In other parts of the world too. Recently, I don't know if you heard about this, but I saw the headline for this. I want to look it up because it's topical to what we're discussing here.
Yeah.
But Prince Harry in West London, he was at an event at a YMCA, and he was saying that Fortnite should be banned outright.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
And he said that game shouldn't be allowed. Where's the benefit of having it in your household? It's created to addict, an addiction to keep you in front of a computer for as long as possible. It's so irresponsible.
Yeah. That's because he's not good at it.
It could be. Get good, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Get good.
Has he streamed with Ninja?
Right, exactly. He's just jealous he didn't get to stream with Ninja because he's a prince. And it's like, and while we're at it, speaking of things that are completely useless to society, how about this entire royalty that's just upheld as a symbol of society? Does it actually serve any kind of purpose to society there? Who are you, Prince Harry? Who are you?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think reeling it back to the PUBG though. I think that was like
Leave your hate in the comments.
Yeah, I think that was the big issue. But it's like, I mean, it's kind of like a lot of games, and the argument for people to ban them is it's linking success to killing.
I think that there are some games that probably are designed with the intent to reel in, the player base in it.
Yeah, I think it's like it's almost like every advertising company, like they'll sit around and they'll pay people to do.
Where was the outrage when Doom came out then?
I'm sure there was.
Or Call of Duty, the first multiplayer game that really took off.
Came out because remember they were all the Marines were using Doom in their training, in their like basic training or something, like shortly after they were training Marines.
Right.
And one of the ways they were doing it was having them play Doom.
Yeah.
In some kind of training room. But it was that was the big thing, is they were using it to train soldiers. They were using violent video games, and they actually showed, there was a study where it was a percent of, I think like riflemen or something in Vietnam versus like people Or well, I guess this was a little bit different, but it was the same idea because like riflemen in World War II, I guess they were like I don't remember the actual figures, but it was like 30% of them were like completely willing to shoot an enemy soldier,
Right.
and which is like not very good statistics. But they were like 30% of them were perfectly comfortable in pulling the trigger on another soldier,
Right.
and then after that they started implementing during their training, their like rifleman training, instead of having paper like targets
Yeah.
that were just circles, they had targets that were shaped like bodies.
Right.
And then they kind of used the same test during soldiers in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And then they were like 90% more likely
Right, 'cause
to be okay with it.
Right,
And then
that's what they trained
like,
with.
Yeah, and then so like even so that's like taking it one step further. and
Honestly-
having people play video games, and actually it makes them more okay
Right.
with killing or more okay with shooting, because that was the big thing was. Okay, it's one thing to shoot at a circular target.
Sure.
And then it's another thing to shoot at a target that looks like a human.
Right.
And then obviously leading up to soldiers in battle shooting.
Honestly, having played shooters my entire life and being most of the evolution of gaming, I don't think graphics matter. For me personally, subjectively,
Yeah.
graphics don't matter in how much
Yeah.
I get desensitized to
Right.
anything. But I think if there was ever a time I would want to be cautious about the stuff that everyone's always throwing their hands in the air and pointing the finger at, would be when it comes to VR, because that gives you this sense of presence, and it gives you a sense of empathy that has never been like far and away much larger jump than any kind of graphical resolution you could do. Once it's not flat anymore, you're there.
Yeah.
There's empathy. So killing in that, I would want testing to be done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
I
stop,
bet
but
they
I'd want testing like ASAP to try and figure that out, because I feel
I
like
bet they
if there was ever
use-
harm, that would be it.
I bet they use stuff like that in military training. I bet
They
they
do.
use VR.
In fact,
sure.
there's actually VR torture rooms that they have now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's terrific. They had there's a bed that is at 30 degrees that you can't sleep on comfortably because you'll fall off.
Yeah.
The ground is made of bricks they're all like flat, but there's a few that are staggered and raised up, so you can't walk forward. Like it keeps you in a way that you can only move backwards comfortably.
Oh, really?
And they use the VR. They keep you in the VR to have this constant sense of disorientation.
Did anybody see kind of a little bit jumping off topic, but did anybody see Altered Carbon?
Yeah.
He watched the whole thing. I didn't.
Remember
watch
they
it.
were torturing them in like basically a VR,
Yeah.
a simulated world, but they would actually, obviously there was an advanced in technology or something, and they could feel the pain in this virtual reality. But remember,
Yeah.
like he was getting tortured in it, and then he had to like break.
Well, they
through.
essentially converted the consciousness into a digital code.
Yeah.
So like it was a lot easier to. It wasn't even necessarily VR. It was more like a. Geez, I don't know. Like it was like
an altered reality.
It's kind of like when you're playing, the AI is playing thousands and thousands of games over and over again. It's like you're doing that, but with consciousness that
Yeah.
could spend lifetimes, this, that, and the other doing this.
Yeah, but I don't know. But basically, coming back, I think it was an interesting thing that people are trying to ban it. I
Yeah.
definitely don't mind the digital ban in China for having children who are under a certain age, because I think it's like, but I mean, because that's what.
That's just, age gating.
Yeah, but
That's okay
what
to an
the-
extent if that's what the culture wants.
Right.
Like,
But
that's fine.
I think it's like, I mean, that's basically kind of what the ESRP rating and stuff is like for, is to keep certain
Right.
groups into certain.
Well,
I mean,
the sad thing about it is that like it could really all be fixed with more attentive parenting.
Yeah.
Because like
But that's the issue, is that there's not attentive parents.
Right.
Well, and that's the problem. Like it's really easy to sit here and say like, well, parents just do your jobs. But
Right.
like as a parent, I can understand how, because like my son is 7 and he plays games, but he only plays for like an hour a day or something.
Right.
So like he doesn't really get like a ton of time, and
Right.
and even if he really wants to play a game for much longer, like he has to earn it.
Right.
He doesn't get to just play for hours every
Right.
day.
And at least you're there to give context and answer questions, and when things get weird or they have questions, you can figure that out. Whereas some kids, like the parents, don't even know what they're playing. They stick them in front of the TVs.
Yeah.
They have fun, and like the kids
And
want to ask them questions.
that's the
They're like,
other
I can't
thing-
be bothered right
That's
now.
the other thing too, is like when I was young, I was playing Mortal Kombat 2.
Right.
And my son now, like he's played Injustice 2, and Mortal Kombat 10.
Yeah.
Do you
So,
turn
like-
the blood off when he plays?
No.
No, just curious.
He's I mean, that's the thing, like, he's, you know, as the way that I parent him is just like, I'll answer his questions honestly in a way that he can understand.
Right.
And
Give the kids
I know
credit.
even at his age, like, he knows the difference between a video game and real life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he knows it very clearly because I've sat down and I've had in-depth conversations with him about it.
Right.
And you know, even with like horror movies, he watches horror movies, and his mom and I will both be like, because I watched horror movies when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and like, you know, your kid is much more clever than you give them credit for.
Right.
They really are.
Yeah. Well,
And
especially
at
your
the
kid.
same time, though, I think there's usually a certain point in time where you, as a child, see something, and then like you maybe realize it then, or not so far after, but you've just like seen something horrific,
Yeah.
like for the first time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Right.
it's just funny because I just kind of just started to chuckle, but I actually went and saw the new Pet Cemetery,
Yeah.
which is like pretty gory and stuff, and we sat down in our seats, and then like before the movie started, then like a couple minutes after, like a mom and her son like were in our aisle and sat at the other end, but like the kid must have been like 9
Yeah.
or something, or 9 or 10. I don't know what 10-year-olds would really look like. I mean, he might have been a little bit older, but somewhere around that age range. And I was
Yeah.
just thinking like, damn, I would probably not bring my kid to this, because
Yeah.
only because I just don't think, if I had a kid, actually I
remember-
don't, but it's like I don't think he would enjoy it, because I remember we definitely need to move on, but
Yeah.
before, I remember when I saw what was the big druggy movie, Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
I was really young, and I saw Requiem for a Dream, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fucked up now, because like you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's
My dad showed me that, but he made me watch it. He said you have to watch all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
this
my
is why
God,
drugs
the
are
end-
bad.
Yeah, the end is so bad.
Yeah,
It's like, that's such a graphic movie.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
real too.
I mean, how old were you when you saw it? You must
I
have
was
been
I was like at least 17.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw it. Can somebody look up when it came out, Requiem for a Dream? Because I'm pretty sure I saw it when I was like 12
Yeah.
or something, and I was like, this is not an appropriate movie for me
Yeah,
to
no,
see.
I was definitely high school when I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
October
That
27th, 2000.
2000. Right, yeah, so that would have been like
Yeah.
15.
I was 12
Yeah.
when that came, because I was 88.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I must have been, I was probably somewhere between, it was on DVD, so I was probably 13 or 14, but I was like, holy shit, like this movie.
I was 15 by
Wow.
then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I enjoyed that movie at the time.
But my point being is, I think there's a point in people's lives, and I think usually, if you're lucky,
Yeah.
you see that something like that on television,
Right.
But you're like, you still have that same epiphany,
Right.
where it's like, holy shit,
Yeah, no, I've had
this could be real life.
in my
As far-
younger
as
years,
far
I
as,
got
like-
shook by a couple horror movies, but I knew they were fake. That's the other thing, but they
Yeah.
still scared me.
Yeah.
And that's the catch too. Like, as a parent, like, you should know your child well enough to
Should.
know
Yeah.
how they'll respond to certain things and what is an appropriate maturity level, not an age.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, age is a number.
Yeah.
When it comes to kids, like,
That's what they say.
there are some kids who an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, it's
If I know them well enough, I'll say like, oh, they should not watch like the It remake.
right.
Yeah.
And but my son, he's 7, and like he'll make it through Pet Cemetery and he'll just laugh.
Right.
So like it
Yeah,
really.
that's pretty-
He did
depends.
grow up on Five Nights, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was a Five Nights at Freddy's fan.
Yeah,
And
so he's
so-
already very prone to horror. But my mom used to read me horror books when I was a kid, so I was all
But I
about it
think,
too.
like you say, though, too, to go with what you're saying is, like, I think as a parent, I think you need to know,
What's
or should
appropriate.
for your child, because like you said, there's a maturity level. Like, even though,
So to roll back to
Those son is
legislation
7.
about it, I don't think
Yeah.
that it's really. I appreciate it, but I think the parents should always have the right to overrule that
Yeah.
if they deem it appropriate.
Well, that's the same thing.
but I think them
that's-
being involved with it, I think is
Yeah, well,
It's good.
that's the same thing with like the ESRB.
Yeah.
It's like you have like a store cannot sell a game to a minor that's like rated M,
Right.
but a parent could go in there and buy
Buy
it
it
for their
for
kid
'em.
anyway.
Right.
And
But that goes into the thing where it's like, okay, now you're making the parent make a decision.
Right.
You know what I
but
mean?
the
So
parent
it's
should
like-
be making a decision if there's a
Right.
rating system or not.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
really,
some of them don't. Right. That's
Right.
the thing. So it's like I think it forces some.
But
of them.
at this
Yeah.
day and age,
Yeah,
like
you know what I
who
mean.
buys stuff on the store anyway, or from a brick and mortar.
The thing is, like,
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
As I think like what I'll say is that, like, generally speaking, an irresponsible parent will raise an irresponsible child.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
That's the thing. Like, they need certain structure, and if the parent is not providing that structure, then
I think to a degree, I agree with you to a degree, but I also believe that in human agency, and so like even if someone, an irresponsible parent, raises a child for a point in time, that child will potentially be irresponsible. But I think it gets to a certain point where the child is either just as ignorant.
Right. I guess we want to, as a society, do the best we can to try and help that those unfortunate scenarios out.
Well, and that's why I think it's good, because then you're forcing people to make those decisions.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to clarify, like, there are kids out there who, regardless of the type of parents they have, turn out really well.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to alienate any parents out there who might get pissy with me.
They're coming for you.
And likewise, like, there are parents who do, like, everything right, and their kid still ends up being like a little shithead.
Yeah.
So sorry for kids a shithead, by the way.
Yeah.
In my defense, my argument would be that hopefully he'll only be a shithead for so long, and he'll get to a point where he can realize that, because even though this is what my parents believe and what my parents do, I don't have to make these same decisions, and I can think for myself.
Yeah.
Little shitheads who screw your mother on an Xbox. Who play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Call of Duty.
There's a new companion app for Call of Duty. Woo! Black Ops 4 got announced 5 months ago, and it's finally in the game. So props to you, Treyarch, for putting the companion app functionality in the game. It's not actually in the game, though, you see. It's a download. You can either go to a website to see your stats, or you can download the companion app it's called Combat Record to your phone. So it's mobile or web, and it basically gives you all the stats for your kills and maps and et cetera, et cetera.
Why don't they have that in there already?
It was, so they introduced it in Black Ops 1 back in 2010, and it's been in every single Call of Duty since then.
Yeah.
But they said, Treyarch officially said it was a big feature that unfortunately only a small number of players engaged with in the game, because it was
their KD. Because that's what would tell you your KD. Right?
Well, that was in the map, but this is more.
No, but your life, like your
your KD, and
your
and,
lifespan of KD.
Right, but this one basically gave stats on individual weapons, weapon categories, specialist weapons, equipment, special issue equipment, score streaks, maps by mode, and attachments across all weapons. So if you're a stats lover, you could drill down into the menus and see all this stuff, but apparently not enough people even looked at this, because they look at what people look at, and they said, it's too far in there. We don't want to take you out of the game that you're playing.
Yeah.
Get your dang phone. You have phones, don't you?
Yeah.
Get your phone, download the app, and look at it while you're waiting for a game to load, instead of sitting in the menu staring at your stats. So that's their point, is they basically said, now this is on top level. You can go look at it when you want it. You don't even have to be at home to use it. You can see it anywhere.
And that's like another thing, like we were talking about before. Yeah, it's like making games that keep you in the game, immersed in the game. And that's probably something that they had multiple meetings about and discussions about, is how can we keep people playing Call of Duty? What's taking them out? What's the way to keep them in? That's that's how I'm talking. But like, that's kind of like a thing that I would think is happening with the battle royale games a lot. It's like where they're literally consciously making decisions that try to keep players in and playing.
I see what you're saying, but I really doubt that that's the case here, just because I know that
it's always an issue.
Well, the Black Ops 4 was a shit show at launch, and they literally just were devoid of features. I think that they just finally put this in. It was supposed to be there. And you're probably right, that was the intent initially. But
I guess maybe if there was a time crunch thing. Yeah.
If you really want to fix the issue, just don't buy Call of Duty anymore.
Yeah.
Just stop playing.
Did anybody? Do you want to? Do you have anything else about this Call of Duty thing before I sidebar you?
I do have another little announcement about it. Yeah. So aside from it having this new Combat Record app, there's also for the entire month of April, the Blackout mode, which is the Battle Royale mode, it's free to play on all platforms. So you can just download the game and play the Battle Royale mode, and on top of that, they just, for all platforms, added a new Blackout map. So it's instead of the whole map that they had, it's a new, much smaller map called Alcatraz, which was What's that?
Nothing. That's the.
Yeah, so basically it's like, it's only 40 man, so there's 10 squads of 4. It's only, you can only play in squads, you can't do solo or anything like that. But it's they added, it's originally a zombies map, so there's zombies in there that you have to fight on top of much tighter quarters, and they have respawns now. So you get 5 respawns. So once you die, you're right back in the game. You can respawn after 30 seconds 5 times, but you just come back with your regular pistol, and that's it. So that's pretty much it. So feel free to sidebar me.
Okay, well, I guess this is what I was going to say, Brian. I really don't want to talk about it for that long because we're at length right now. But,
sure.
I mean, it was going to happen. We skipped last week. So.
Yeah, that's a double episode.
Did anybody see the article that came out about Anthem? And about basically a reporter went and did, like, I think he had like 17 interviews or something.
Oh yeah,
that
huge news. Yeah,
I don't want to get into it too much, but just when I said maybe they were under a big time crunch, it completely took me to the Anthem thing. And like, did you guys see that? Or basically, one of the big points was that the big bombshells was that they actually were really only working on the game for 9 months.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. They were working on it for 6 years.
Well, it was in development for 6 years.
It was like a year and a half when they finally started crunching down on it.
Yeah, or maybe that's what it was. They were actually working on it for a year and a half or something. But like
it was the same mess with Mass Effect Andromeda too.
Yeah.
Same story.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I think what were they? The same thing. There's some like pirates or something, or some pirate game or something they did.
Sea of Thieves?
I don't remember. I forget. I don't know. I read it like a week ago.
Okay.
Or whatever. But it was like I couldn't believe after like hearing all the shit that went on and and all the truth that came out about Anthem, like just how crazy it was.
So this is why I was saying I was going to be cautiously optimistic the entire time, because I saw there's some YouTube channel, I can't remember the name of it right now. I thought it was like Captain Price Gaming or something, but I don't know. He does these gaming episodes, and a lot of them are like, so and so game didn't die, it was murdered, and he puts that on every title. But this essay was really like in depth. He's like, he got in there, he like listened to the dev interviews and saw that people were leaving, and he's like, this doesn't look like it's gonna be good. And I was like, damn it, I really wanted this to be good. It looks so good. And it's funny because that trailer that I watched, that I was like, this is gonna be so good, all the devs saw, and they're like, so that's the game we're gonna make.
That's the same thing I heard.
This standout thing I heard that I caught the most out of that whole thing was that they didn't even know the name of it until a week before they announced it.
Right, it was supposed to be Beyond.
That's freaking
wild,
wild,
they couldn't get the trademark for it.
That's wild.
Yeah, they had shirts printed up and everything.
Yeah.
Well, who dropped that? Do we remember the news outlet that they dropped it?
I remember hearing Angry Joe talk about it, but I don't think he was the first.
There was somebody. It was one of those divisive. I think it was Kotaku, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of the. They were like, this guy it's Kotaku, but this journalist actually did their homework and did a good job. So everyone's really excited. Yeah,
well, I think he really dug in. The guy who wrote the report, really dug into everything.
I think his name was Jeremy something or other. I don't know. Well done to that reporter.
It's a really big announcement that affects people worldwide.
Does it though? Because we already kind of knew that it was garbage.
But you know what? But I think it gives a lot. Like when you start,
everyone gets it. Yeah, now.
When you like basically, what do they call that? You basically air it out for everybody. I don't think a lot of people
exposed.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really were like keeping tabs on it. And then it's like when you start to get big outlets, multiple outlets that are start to talk about it. Like I mean, then the reach. It starts to get really big.
When you think about it. With only 9 months of real planning, that they did a miracle with that game.
But that's the thing that like a lot of people were saying, and I don't really want to rip on the developers.
You know, those people. They're from EA, but they
EA
were
published the game.
Mass Effect.
Yeah, who were the guys who developed
BioWare?
BioWare.
But basically, yeah, I mean, they were really jabbing hard at BioWare as a development team, and like I think a lot of people initially were blaming EA and stuff, but it's kind of like it's not completely EA.
Well, it was senior management that mismanaged, but the thing is, like, half of them left. Like right before the game, but maybe that's why they left. They were like, "Oh, screwed this up. Can't have my name on it."
The article was released by Jason Schreier.
Jason Schreier.
At Kotaku.
Yep. Okay. Good job, Jason.
Big announcement.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That was like an hour-long read too.
Yeah.
It's a very long article.
So well
without
researched.
spending too much time on it. There's
A game journalist that actually does journalism. That's nice.
I know. It's rare in this day and age. Another huge story. Well, it's not huge, but it's a huge event. It's one of the biggest esports events ever. It's the Fortnite World Cup Finals. Now, the Fortnite World Cup hasn't even started, but they announced the finals, and it begins July 26th. And it's this is a mouthful of a venue, but it's at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center's Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City.
Wow.
And you can pre-register through Ticketmaster with their verified fan system. So that just goes to show how big esports is getting. Because
is anybody allowed to register?
If you're a verified fan of Fortnite, just like with like Taylor Swift tickets or whatever, you can't. They're stopping scalpers by making you have to be a verified fan before you can pre-order your tickets.
Any idea what it takes to be a verified fan?
Typically, you have to join the fan club and be a member for X amount of days.
But that's kind of cool because like I think a lot of other other esports stuff is kind of like goes on a point system, and like if you want to get to the big tournaments or something, aside from like the big streamer events and stuff, but like big esports events, it's like you need to kind of like grind the circuit, if you will, to get into like evolution or something.
Exactly. Yeah, you know that's what they're doing with this as well, pretty much. And
but that doesn't sound like that to me. It sounds like if you buy some hats and some merch, you can go to the World Cup.
Well, I don't know. We can look up what the verified fan system entails. I'm not 100% sure.
But that's what I mean. It doesn't sound like you need a certain points or a ranking, and
that's how typically these things work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how it sounds different to me.
As a fan system that you're verified. How do you get verified?
They have that for.
I know how you get verified on Tinder.
They have that for.
You pay them.
They have a fan verification system for Comic-Con.
Right.
In New York City.
They have that it's the same concept.
All you have to do is just like it's kind of a pain because like I tried to go to the Comic-Con a couple of years ago.
Right, you couldn't just get in because you had to.
The problem with it, what I hated was that like I didn't know about the Comic-Con because like it was my first one, so I was completely unprepared.
Yeah.
And by then like it was already like, oh, you had to have been verified like 6 months ago.
Exactly. And so that's to stop scalpers from buying up the tickets and reselling them to you at $400 a ticket.
Right, yeah.
So that's what they did here with this. But not only if you finally get in there and you're able to obtain a pass, you'll get both a Season 10 Battle Pass and an unspecified amount of V-Bucks. Yeah. Woohoo! So they'll give you a little bonus for having that. But the prize pool is $30 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So for solo and duos, basically if you make it to NYC, the top winners will get $3 million, and everyone else who made it all the way to NYC will get $50,000 just for getting there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What about the squads?
There's solos and duos.
There's no squads?
No squads.
Oh. Because there is squads in Fortnite, I think.
There is. It's just not in the pro scene.
Yeah. That's what they need to do, because like I was watching a lot of like the PUBG tournaments and stuff, and like a lot of them were squads.
Yeah.
And I felt like it would just be better. I think it's better for esports, or like better for an esports team, or better for esports competitors to play solo or duo, because I think it makes you more I don't know about more polarizing, I guess, is where it's like if you're a Dr. Disrespect or whatever, but it's like, or I guess like if you're Shroud,
right,
but it's like how many names of players can you name from the Cloud9 team other than Shroud? Remember that was the team he was on.
I don't follow.
But that's you know what I mean. But if you create like big personalities, You know what I mean? If you create, because I mean, how many big esports people can you even name?
I mean, I can name a bunch from the Call of Duty circuit when I watch them. They're just like players on a team that and you know the teams. You know, I mean.
But that's what I mean though. If you start blowing up like single players. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think that's just a better way to do it. You know what I mean?
When I was following the Call of Duty scene, it seemed like every freaking season or every a couple games they swap players with other teams, and it's like, weren't you just on this team? No, you're over here. Yeah. So it's like you start knowing who the players are, and it's like, okay, that's cool. The team that I was rooting for doesn't even have any of the original people, so I just follow the people.
You start to, but that's what I mean. Then you start to like other teams and stuff.
Right.
So I feel like if you start to kind of minimize it, even like with Evo and stuff, it's like for the most part it's single players playing each other, and then it's like, but then you start to like. People start to get really big in those niche, in those games or in the gaming tournaments and stuff like that, because it's like they're one person who went to the top.
Right.
Aside from a team that like you start to trade. I just said it because I think it's a good thing for esports to start making big name players. Right. You know what I mean?
I guess it depends on the game too, because if you've got your Dotas and your LoLs that are like, those are very team based, but.
Yeah. But I think like with fighters and stuff, and you get a lot of the same players playing multiple fighting games and like competing in, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but I think my point was I think it's good for esports to create, big name players and stuff. And then,
I agree.
But I mean, and that just helps the whole.
Yeah, because you got these people who, like going back to the COD thing, you had your one or two teams that were always down like Greenwall, Optic was always number one because they always won, and so it's like Fairweather gamers were all flocked to this. Yeah. I don't know.
Are there any VR games in esports right now?
Beat Saber actually is. It's not. There's leaderboards. It's not necessarily esports.
Did you see the new Beat? There's like Beat Gun or something, or it's not. It's coming out for. I've seen it on the PlayStation.
I didn't, but I know that Beat Saber won the most sold game on PS4 2 months in a row now.
Yeah, there's one that I think it's like a similar game. I think it's like Beat Guns or something, or Beat.
I think I did hear that.
On the thumbnail is like two kind of like lasers.
Oh, okay.
Guns or something. And I think it might be like Beat Saber with guns or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that Tetris Effect is still getting praises all over the internet. So
well, I think that's kind of like it goes back to the nostalgia of Tetris itself.
Yeah, but people were just like, that game is. Yeah. It came out like $40. Like, how are you gonna pay $40 for Tetris?
Well, there's 4 dimensions.
Right. So, the Tesseract, it's gonna get you.
I think the VR stuff, is gonna be a big thing, and I know we have a VR story that we're gonna be talking about here.
Yeah, you and me, we're big fans. Yeah. But you're a bigger fan of this specific game.
Yeah, specifically No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
The Hello Games came out with an announcement, and that on March 15th, that initially they were talking about they were expanding the multiplayer features of the game, and they were going to release another big update for the game. This seems to be the biggest one they've done, and they've done a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
So they essentially rolled 3 large updates that they were going to release separately, and they rolled them all into one.
Wasn't it called Next or something like that?
Beyond.
Oh, okay.
And so
Anthem.
They're greatly they're greatly expanding the multiplayer elements so that players will be able to get together more.
Oh, we should play.
And we totally could. And they said in their official update on the website, players everywhere in the universe to meet and play together. Whilst this brings people together like never before, and has many recognizable online elements, we don't consider No Man's Sky to be an MMO. It won't require a subscription, it won't contain microtransactions, and it will be free for all existing players. So,
well done.
So, this game came out at $60 at launch like 3 years ago now, I think.
Still coming out with huge updates.
All these updates free. Yep. Every one of them. And this the VR aspects, like, there are people who were able to get their hands on the VR experience, and they're all saying it's really well done and really well incorporated.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that as a VR, because like that was something I'd been saying basically from like day one, was just like, this game needs VR.
Yeah.
If there's any game that could benefit from it,
You were really hoping, and I was like,
think
yeah,
the
good
guy-
luck with
I
that.
think the guy who created and developed it, I think, wanted it to be VR.
Yeah.
Initially, I
They
think
were
that was
talking
like
about
his
it.
dream. Initially, was to
They've
do it.
been hinting at it. They were hinting at it for a long time, and they
I
were
remember
like,
before the game even came out, you were saying he said something about it on Twitter.
yeah. So they've been considering it for a long time.
Yeah, I
And,
remember
like,
when you told me. I laughed at you. I said, yeah, good luck with that. It's 4 dudes.
but it's getting like even like getting the move control support and stuff. So like your hands will be in the game. You will be walking around, and you can do the regular walking at regular speed, or you can.
So you can actually pet the animals.
Yeah.
Oh,
Probably.
I want to pet a dinosaur.
And like
A space dino.
you sit in the cockpit of your ship, and like you control the throttle with one hand and the joystick, like the movement and stuff, with the other.
Oh, nice.
And like they fully integrated the UI so that it's not like super invasive like in Skyrim, where you have to like pull up this big pause menu, I guess.
Right.
So like you can like I don't know exactly how it's done, but like apparently you can flip up your wrist and push a button and it'll show up on your wrist or something fancy like that.
Boy.
So they're making it like fully integrated stuff, and I'm just really pumped for it, because like it's if you ever wanted to space travel and be in another universe and feel like you're actually a space explorer, it seems like this is going to be the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm really pumped for that. I'm super excited. I'm super happy they're finally making it happen.
Nice.
And also, keep in mind, like between the multiplayer component and the VR component, there's still one other leg of this update that they haven't even talked about yet. And the people who played